Alright, we're starting recording. What's up? I wanted to make a video talking about actually NIP. NIP have recently added Stavn. It was something that was announced a little while ago, and I wanted to make a video about it, but I didn't really get around to it. I kind of wanted to wait and see what was going to happen. I predicted it was going to be a good move, regardless if he was a good awper or not, just because he's a good player. Stavn was a player I actually didn't rate for a very long time because I saw him mostly on Astralis. Obviously, I watched him a bit in Heroic. Thought he was pretty good in Heroic, but on Astralis he just never lived up to the same billing that he had on Heroic, right? Heroic, he was like a consistent top 20 player each year throughout, right? And was very consistent as a star player. Obviously, he relied a lot on setup, which is something that um, you can be a bit critical. Sometimes he baits people. Sometimes he's a bit like he's a group stage farmer, but he falls off in playoffs, right? That was a very big thing that a lot of people criticize Sound for. But as I kind of came around to his time on Astralis and actually reflected, he wasn't actually that bad on Astralis. So I thought for Nip, this was a really good pickup. Um, because I think Stavn is just a good player. I think he has the skill set of a good player, and I do remember a lot of people saying back in the day, Stavn was actually the best opper in Heroic, right? Cadian used the op the most, but Stavn was actually the better opper, right? Despite secondary opping. So I thought it's a good pickup. It's a smart gamble. If cairne doesn't work out, you put Stavn in cairne's positions, right? That was the logic because um, I thought that was going to do something. But so far, I feel like I've been actually right with my prediction, and I actually want to throw in like a very hot prediction, which is I think Nip are going to be a top 10 team. I actually legitimately think this team could be top 10. There are some things that need to be worked out. There's some time that the team needs together, but I feel like once they get that figured out and a lot of the details ironed out, this team can be top 10 because I still think the pieces are good enough. Um, I just need to see a bit more from cairne, right? He's showing glimpses, he's showing moments where I actually am seeing him take initiative and he's going for the plays that Snappy needs because Snappy does need a player. Like cairne is almost playing not like a Nerds, I would say that's more Casper's guy, but cairne is playing like almost like what Deha did, where he needs to like kind of like take initiative and take aggression and be that like player who is willing to just take risks, right? Because that's what you need. Snappy needs. Snappy needs you to trust and like go for plays and not be a pussy. So I just want to look first at this team, right? I think when you look at the pieces, every single one of the pieces I actually rate. I think Snappy is still a very good caller. I am starting to be a bit more critical of him because there have been some times this team does choke a lot of close games. Like they choke a lot of close games, and I think Snappy has to be at fault for that. Even exist, even with Sound being in this, it could just be a team culture thing, like they have in Liquid, where it just seems like no matter what happens, this team seems to have a bit of a choking issue, which is possible, and I'm willing to even accept that as a premise. Uh, but Stown so far has looked really good on the up. We'll show the stats later. Shush, he's not as impactful as what he was on the Danish heroic. The international heroic, it was a little bit worse, but he showed glimpses of being a top tier anchor on 2025 NIP when they were developing and when they were earning their VRS spot because they started from zero, right? And I thought Shush was incredibly solid. He was probably objectively their best player. Even though Wrinkle had the highs and was actually consistent for a period, I think Shush was their best player when you considered what he was actually doing for the team and how much initiative he was taking in as this anchor support extremity player. And then Casper, I don't need to say anything. This guy is borderline. This guy probably is a top 20 player, unironically. I think he actually is a top 20 player, not playing on a team that can get him the results to make him an HLTV top 20 player, right? If we just look at the raw eye test, the aim is so crisp. It's so smooth. He's fast. The entry power of this guy is absurd. He knows how to play late round. Like in my opinion, he's like one of the most. If FaZe got Casper instead of Jacob, FaZe would have been a much more interesting team, and maybe even would have done something of relevance if they got Casper instead of Jacob. So yeah, and then cairne I saw on TNL, which then became Inner Circle, and I thought he was really good. I knew of him for a while. It was Davu and cairne. They were their main stars for TNL when they were coming up throughout Tier 2, and I thought cairne was incredibly solid. He was this like hard entry guy who Davu played typically more the late rounds and traded, both of them got up to things, but I would say Davu was more the star, but cairne was the aggressive. He was the aggressive guy who was going first on a lot of bomb site execs and typically being able to catch openers and set up the rounds, right? So I rate him really high on that, right? So CCT is the event they're playing. They're actually about to play against Monty like very soon. So I want to watch that game, obviously. But so far, NIP have done actually fairly well, right? They took care of Sharks pretty convincingly. Stavn was dominating, especially on Nuke. On Ancient, he was a little static. Actually, we'll talk about Stavn quick, just because I think this is Stavn's stats so far. So he has a 1.19 across the event. He has a 1.01 T side rating, partially because he's using the op a lot. He's using the op quite a bit. And on CT side, he's uh, on the CT side, he's opping quite well, and he's opping very aggressively, right? So multi-kill is fairly decent. ADR is solid. He's dying very little, and his KPR is not bad. 0.76. I don't know why this is yellow. This is actually fairly solid for an upper, right? I feel like most uppers don't even hit this nowadays. So I actually think Stavn is doing a very good job considering he is playing. Again, he's playing lower tier opposition, but he is doing a very good job. Now, if we go to the openings, he has 21 across the thing, but most of this is on CT side. So as soon as I switch to CT side, he's taking 30% openers. Now, again, this is not sustainable in any way. Stavn will not be able to drop 30% of the opening attempts and get 21% of the time the opening kill. Like that's just not going to happen. That cannot keep up. He might go drop down to 20%, I imagine, in future tournaments. And in my opinion, they have to do that because no awper can keep this amount of openers. It's absurd. It's too high. Um, right? But he's been very aggressive, very dynamic on some maps, particularly Nuke. I think he's really good at opping on Nuke. Like on Nuke, he knows which lines he wants to take, how he wants to play the opening pick, right? And like he's very dynamic. I've seen him play secret some rounds. I've seen him play um, go for the door pick. I've seen him go for aggressive smokes, pushing like the glaive smoke, like they'll drop a glaive smoke and it'll go push and play in like Africa and go for like the opening pick. I've seen him do a bunch of different things, and he's being very dynamic and very good. He's actually using the op just a lot in general. If you go both sides, 50% of his kills are sniper kills, right? He's getting a sniper kill almost every 2 rounds, right? And then he's getting a lot of multi kills and a lot of openers on the op, right? And you go on T side, it's even higher, right? But he's using even the op a lot on on T side, right? On T side, he's still using the op quite a bit. I think he's really trying to become an opper, which is something that I was a bit scared of. But I think he should use the rifle a bit more on T side. I think on T side, it's one of the things I would like him to do is actually use the rifle more because I think he's just so good in the late round with the rifle, and his aggressive trading is really good. That's something I would like to see more. Is just on T side, make him more of a trader. Put a rifle in his hand and tell him to go trade Casper or cairne or Snappy because I think he'll be very good at that, right? He's winning a lot of his clutches. On CT side, he wins quite a bit. On T side, a little bit less. But he doesn't save a lot. He actually does go for the rounds. And obviously, utility-wise, he's throwing a lot of flashes, which is really good. And the flashes are fairly effective based off the stats. So I think so far, I've actually been super impressed with Stavn. Casper, I don't even need to say anything about this guy. I feel like everybody knows. This guy is just absurdly good. Like, absurdly good. 30%, like, even though a lot of people are going to look at the opening success rate and be like, bro, what the fuck? They've collapsed on T side sometimes. I'm not even going to completely blame him. He's getting a lot of openers. He's dying a lot, but he is getting a lot of openers or being traded. Um, on CT side, he's been fairly solid. He's a little more passive because I think they're letting cairne go for more opening picks as well as Shush. Um, and he's trading a bit more on T side, which I think is good. I think that's good. He's your star. He's your very clearly your star, and you should do that. But so far, they've beaten Sharks, and Sharks, Stavn was their best performer. He was dominating on Nuke. If we go Nuke, 1.46. He went for an absurd amount of openers. He was absolutely in their face the entire game. Like, the round swing was absurd. The ADR was absurd. Like, he was so good on this map. On Ancient, he was a little more static. He was playing on the beat bomb site. He won an impactful clutch in a 1v2 with an op. I do think something that Vince mentioned on the cast. Vince mentioned something on the cast, which I actually think is rather important, is that Stavn is a little too much secondary heavy. He swaps to a Tech 9 or a 5.7 or a Deagle too much. I think he does do it because he's a rifler, because he's a rifler at heart, right? And you can tell that. because he doesn't trust his op skills all the time, and he sometimes will go for the Tech 9. Now, I don't mind that. That's not a bad thing, but sometimes I would like my awper to trust the fact that the one hit kill weapon, they just test it and try it. They just go for the shot. Like, even if they're going to miss or there's a chance of them missing it, I'd rather them go for it most of the time. But I don't mind that he swaps to a secondary. I think it's correct sometimes. Device also had the same problem for quite a while. Hold on. And then he versed Monty. Now, this game probably should have. I think they started pretty well on Anubis, from what I understand. Yeah, they won 8 rounds, and then they kind of choked, gave them OT, and Monty came back. Now, again, I rate Monty as a team. I actually think Monty are very good. I think Rainwaker, if you haven't watched this guy since Liquid, I would say go watch a demo of his or just go watch him. The guy is an insane T-side player. He might be, unironically, one of the best T-side lurkers in Tier 2, Tier 1.5 in the world. He's really good. Like, the amount of impact he gets, he's very dynamic. He does sometimes he does look like he's baiting, similar to Rops, because he's like taking a while to activate. He's very conservative in terms of his playstyle, but he has become a T-side star that a few people predicted back in 2023, 2024 he could be. And so far he's been that, right? He's been absolutely dominant. And then on CT side, he's just a fucking stable anchor. He's a super stable anchor, right? Afro, I think, is an underrated awper in Tier 2. I think a lot of people considered his time after Fnatic, like, a lot of people thought he was done, but I think Afro is really good. Bemis is fairly solid as a trader slash supportive player. And then Azula, I think, is objectively the weakest link, because I think Gizmi is a very good young caller. But I think this team is fairly solid for 1.5. And this team is actually counters Nip in a way that I don't think a lot of people understand, is that Nip have this weird choking factor where Monty have this weird comeback factor. So what ends up happening is you have a you have an unstoppable choke versus a pretty gritty team, right? Because like Nip do choke a lot. This team does, for whatever reason, whenever they have a strong start and they lose an unlosable round or a round they shouldn't lose, they just tilt off the face of the earth. Now in this 100 Thieves game, realistically, I thought they were going to choke this game. I thought they were going to choke this game. They managed to close in on Mirage. I think most people are very interested um, in this 100 Thieves team. I like this 100 Thieves team, but Casper was dominating. Casper was so fucking good in this thing. He dropped almost 40 kills on Mirage. He did drop 40 kills on Mirage in 35 rounds of play, which is absurd. Like, he played so well. He was getting so many openers. He aced on the first pistol round. Like, he was playing so well in this game. Stavn had some very good late round impact moments. He had a few good openers. He was catching poi and underpass and stuff. He was playing fairly dynamic. I think Mirage and Nuke are two maps I've always rated Stavn on pretty highly because I think he knows how to play the maps to an extremely high level. Um, Anubis, I think, is one map where Stavn actually does struggle a bit, but again, I think it will just be time. I don't think Stavn ever played Anubis. I don't think he was ever an Anubis player. So I think for Stavn, especially as an awper, it's a bit hard this map for him because I'm pretty sure if you go to Anubis, he was the lowest rated player, I think, even on CT side. On CT side, he wasn't as bad, but on T side, he did struggle a bit. Partially because he was opping a lot, but I don't think he was that bad. He wasn't like so awful. Against Big, they won pretty convincingly. They choked this Mirage again. They love choking. I don't understand it. This team is weird. Maybe it's just Snappy's calling. Maybe it's something that's team dynamic wise. But this team does choke close games when they lose an unlosable round, right? When they lose a round they shouldn't lose, this team chokes off, like, falls off the face of the earth, right? Now, Stavn, for the most part, is pretty solid, but this team does choke in ways that I don't understand. And then Anubis, they close it out very convincingly. And now they're facing off against probably Monty right now. I actually can check. Okay. Are they in game right now? Okay, they're not. They're not yet, but they will be very soon if they're not in game. But I imagine Monty are gonna win this. I still think Nip needs some time. And needs some development with this roster, but I think overall, this roster will be very good one day. I actually think this roster can't be top 10. I think, unironically, I rate every single one of the pieces. The one thing we need is Shush to be a little more reliable as an anchor slash lurker, Stavn to get more used to opping and take be a little more passive and rifle a bit more on T side. I think those are important. I think Casper is perfect as is. Don't change anything, Casper. He's so good. Also, it's X Casper Sky, not Kaspersky. I hate that fucking name. His name is literally Casper, but whatever. And then Cairne just needs to continue developing into this lurker. And if you have Shush's reliability, Casper's insane potential, Cairne's development, and Stavn as a reliable trader slash awper that does just dominate. This is something that Stavn does really well. When Stavn knows he's versing weaker opposition, he dominates them. He just goes for every single pick in the game because he knows he's better than them. He knows he's just gonna win. And it's so awesome to watch, like when Stavn thinks he's better than you, because he doesn't let off the gas at all. He doesn't give you any room to breathe. He gets more and more aggressive, which is something that's so surprising about Stavn. Because Stavn is relatively seen as a passive player against good opposition, but against opposition he doesn't respect, he doesn't give them any room to breathe. And it's really good for Nip to pick up a piece like this. So I think Nip will be top 10. But yeah, that's just my analysis. And let me know what you think. Do you think Nip are going to be top 10? Do you think I'm smoking something? Let me know.